Yeah, I'm very interested in the prediction market because it's a market with mystery. And yeah, people all want to know the outcome of the real world, and we have to leverage our knowledge. And in the blockchain industry, the best thing is that uh, people can get more from the prediction market. It is very interesting. So first of all, could you tell us more about your information, your background?
So yeah, my name's Logan. I'm CEO and founder of Zeitgeist. So I've been in the crypto industry since 2017. Originally, I started to work in the Ethereum ecosystem, building smart contracts and dApps. And in late 2018, I was working on a project called Convergence, which was building a personal tokens platform. And around this time, I started to feel like I was hitting my head against the kind of programming constraints of the EVM, having to optimize for gas and doing complicated arithmetic was hard with fixed point numbers and so on. So I started to look into the alternatives that existed at the time. And this is how I discovered Substrate and thereafter kind of the Polkadot ecosystem. And from there, I started to get more involved with building Substrate modules and ended up joining Web3 Foundation in early 2019 as technical educator. And then worked there through the launch of Kusama and then the launch of Polkadot, then left in early 2021 to start Zeitgeist.
Wow, it seems that you are a decent technician. It seems it is so far away from the prediction. So when do you get to know the prediction market, and why the prediction market interests you so much?
Yeah, so I discovered prediction markets after getting into the crypto space. So I was made aware of projects like Augur and Gnosis that were building on Ethereum. And after that, I got into the writings of Robin Hanson, who's kind of thought of as the forefather of prediction markets and Futarchy, and the writing, and then started to read more, got into the stuff that Vitalik has written on Futarchy, and then just went down the rabbit hole with all the writings about prediction markets. So I think what really captivated me about prediction markets was more than just the betting aspect, which I think is the most kind of surface level thing about them. But what excited me was the ability to efficiently crowdsource predictions using the market mechanism, and then being able to use that information, so probability of future events, to then be able to make decisions in governance.
Why do you want to start your own project, especially the project of prediction, and combining the blockchain with prediction market?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, when I got into crypto, I learned about these earlier projects that were already building on blockchain. So I wouldn't say it was necessarily a new idea to bring prediction markets onto blockchain, at least when I was exposed to it. So it was already kind of something that was being done, and I definitely agreed with the opinion that the blockchain is a good match for prediction markets due to the decentralized nature of blockchain. So the reason I started Zeitgeist, though, was because that these other projects that had been in development for years weren't able to gain traction. So there was a kind of a dream, a vision of prediction market, the prediction market platform on blockchain that some of these projects had, and that vision was never fully realized. And I think there was a few different reasons for why that was the case. Especially in the earlier days, there were scalability issues that plagued some projects, but I also think there was some core faults in how the community was involved in early projects, and especially around the governance aspect. And that's one thing that Zeitgeist aims to fix. So Zeitgeist has the benefit of coming after these earlier projects. And it was created to be the next iteration of a prediction market platform, and to fix a lot of the early mistakes that were made.
Why do you choose Polkadot? Because it seems there are other choices, like Solana, like Cosmos. They are very famous. Why do you choose Polkadot?
As I mentioned, I was part of Web3 Foundation, and I think I initially joined Web3 Foundation to help build Polkadot because I had a conviction that Polkadot was going to be the next generation platform after Ethereum. So Polkadot solves many of the problems that earlier blockchains had. So things like scalability, which we don't talk about very much anymore because of all the alternative layer ones, but that was a big problem at one time. But it also solves interoperability and the security aspect with shared security. So Polkadot is is an exciting ecosystem to build in because it's always pushing the boundaries for what's possible on blockchain. And there's a culture around it that's always innovating. And I think a lot of this has to do with the founder, Gavin Wood, who's an incredible visionary, but he has the ability to mix being a visionary with being a builder. And what that means is that you see Polkadot delivering on many things, many of the promises that were made around the Ethereum 2.0 roadmap, for instance, things like sharding that have taken many years for ETH 2.0 and it's still not delivered yet. But Polkadot's architecture is kind of a realization of the sharding. So I think a lot of this ability to deliver is due to the culture around the Polkadot ecosystem and the ability to balance innovation with practicality of implementation. So I think of myself as a practical person. And so I very much admire this aspect about the Polkadot ecosystem that prioritize shipping code just as much or more than doing the research.
As we all know that running a parachain is not a very easy thing. You have to do the auction and you have to do much more development. So why do you choose to run a parachain by yourself, by your own, instead of choosing something easier, such as deploying on the other parachains?
Yeah, so I would say first off, one big reason was to build with Substrate. So Substrate is a very powerful tool and a framework for building blockchains. And by building on Substrate, we can have the confidence that anything we want to implement that makes our product and our chain better for the use case of prediction markets and Futarchy, we can implement it without having to do a massive amount of low-level architecturing because Substrate kind of gives us all these tools out of the box. So that's the first one, the flexibility and the power of Substrate. And then secondly, the Polkadot ecosystem itself is very strong. So we're super excited to be able to tap into XCM and integrate XCM on our chain so that we can explore composable applications between prediction markets on Zeitgeist and the other applications on other parachains. Beyond that, we also benefit a lot from everything else that the ecosystem is bringing in, things like the stable coins, other bridges and things like that.
I read from the news that you guys have some new launching, right? Could you tell us more about it? What we can expecting from the new upcoming launching?
Yeah, so we've been working on quite a few things to coincide with our upcoming launch. So you can expect not only the permissionless protocol for prediction markets, which is the core feature of the Zeitgeist chain, but also the intuitive web application that we've been building that we previewed during the beta campaign that we had last year. And this application will make it super intuitive for users to create markets as well as trade the markets and resolve the markets. So we think this is going to be the best prediction market product that we've seen so far. We're super excited to unveil that very soon. But along with that, we also have a big marketing event planned to go along with our launch. So a lot of the details are still under wraps. But what I can say is that you can expect to see the output of us experimenting and trying new things with NFTs and user engagement. So there is going to be a surprise aspect of the application that we've been working on, but it hasn't been announced yet. So people can expect to be surprised in that way.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for the surprise. And Zeitgeist proposed Futarchy as the governance. Could you explain why you believe this and how the framework is being built so that it can be adopted as a platform for governance?
Yeah, so the core insight behind Futarchy is that prediction markets are the best tool that we know of to gather information about future events. So the next best competitor would be something like polling, where you just ask people what they think. And prediction markets are a lot better than that because you're asking people to put skin in the game, to stake on what they think is going to happen, which means that they have something to lose if they're wrong. So given that we can use prediction markets to get these really good predictions, these signals about what will happen in the future, we can use those predictions then to do things like help us make decisions over how we run an organization or how we govern a blockchain, or even at some point allow the markets to make the decisions themselves. So the framework that we're building for Futarchy is going to be built on top of our prediction markets, the primitives that we have. And the plan is to first integrate Futarchy as a governance mechanism in Zeitgeist for its own on-chain governance. this will exist alongside the current state-of-the-art blockchain governance that we borrow from Polkadot and Kusama, things like the referendum system, council, and so on. And the plan is to prove this out on Zeitgeist as a valid way to govern our own chain. And then after some time, open it up to other parachains that might choose to also use Futarchy. So one thing that allows us to do this is XCM. So if there's another parachain that's connected to Kusama, which is where Zeitgeist lives, then they can opt into doing binding Futarchy using Zeitgeist as a Futarchy provider. And this can even progress to things like the relay chain itself, so Kusama or Polkadot itself, using Zeitgeist as a Futarchy provider for things like treasury spends. These are currently decided based on votes from the council, but we could run markets on them instead, and then spend money from the on-chain treasuries based on what the prediction markets show will be beneficial for the ecosystem. And then a bit further on, we want to integrate with a DAO framework on Zeitgeist to allow DAOs to tap into the Futarchy tools.
And the prediction market are already a public epistemic technology more than just a financial technology. How to make a prediction market that people are actually want to participate in?
So the most important thing about making a market that people want to participate in is that it needs to be well-defined. So the question that it's asking needs to be very clear and have clear outcome conditions. So the reason for this is that traders want to be able to make educated trades in a market. And if the market's vague about what it's predicting, or if it's vague about what the outcome conditions are, or the outcomes may never happen, for instance, this will make it so traders don't want to participate. Beyond this, each application vertical kind of has its own aspects of what makes a market more interesting to participate in or not. So for example, some markets might be interesting because they're predicting high stakes events, things like finals, championships, or presidential elections. Those are two examples of like popular prediction markets now. But I think what we're trying to unlock are also other markets that might be interesting to companies or organizations, because they can create an edge for that company if they have the insights of the predictions from the markets.
Dr. Gavin Wood coined the Web3 in 2014, and this word is mentioned a lot. How does Zeitgeist fit into the Web3 world? What contributions can you make to the next phase of the internet?
Yeah, so we're big believers in the Web3 mission and the Web3 vision. So we see our contributions being, of course, building prediction markets and building the tools and the ecosystem around prediction markets to make prediction markets a widely used technology in blockchain. However, our ambitions don't end at prediction markets. We do want to push the envelope further. So we want to use prediction markets to power the Futarchy governance and enable this to become kind of a next generation governance mechanism. So we want to show the world that governance technology in general is something that can be innovated and improved upon. So eventually we want to use these tools and these primitives that we build to allow prediction markets and Futarchy into the world of DAOs, and eventually allow organizations to even run autonomously based on the signals that are generated by the prediction markets.
The world is evolving, so is the Web3 world and the Zeitgeist. So we have to change and adapt according time, over time. How does the prediction market empower the NFT and the Metaverse? Because these two words is puzzle words recently.
Yeah. So prediction markets do have a number of synergies with NFTs and Metaverse. So to begin with, we do anticipate NFT markets being one niche that will be initially pretty popular on Zeitgeist. So these markets include things like predicting prices of assets, so floor prices and prices of different traits. A lot of times the NFT market can be liquid, so it's hard to price these assets. That's one utility that prediction markets can give NFTs. But going into more experimental territory, you could also do interesting things like make NFTs that react to the current prediction of a market. So these could be things that are fluid and dynamic and change as traders trade in the market. Metaverse also has synergies with prediction markets. So we're looking at the metaverse a bit, hoping to build a bit more there. And we've been thinking of interesting ways of how to display prediction markets in a way that's more immersive to the user. So one thing that we did last year was a custom UI for a prediction market called the Kusama Derby. And this was a horse race UI that moved the horses around according to the prediction. So if it was based on the first three Kusama parachain slots. So I think yes, I believe it was Karura won the first one, and was their horse was way at the end of the line, right? Because the prediction was that Karura would win the first slot. So that started us off as kind of having creative ways to think about how to display the prediction markets. And what we want to do with Metaverse is to create these virtual experiences that are reactive to markets and can really immerse someone into how the market is, what the market state is.
It is very interesting. In the end, for those who are new to prediction market, any advice on how to predict wisely?
Yeah, so there's a phrase of advice that's usually given to writers who are struggling with writer's block, that is write what you know. So I think this is helpful for writers because it brings them back to the core truth, to the things that only they can know. There's things that each individual, they're the expert in something. So prediction markets are a different thing from writing, of course, but at the core, what they are truth machines, and they incentivize knowledge to emerge from the crowd. So my advice to predictors on Zeitgeist is to similarly predict what you know. So if you do this, you will not only make it so that Zeitgeist is a high quality of information on its markets, but it also allows you to profit from knowledge.
Very good advice. Okay, thank you so much. I think that's all for our interview of today.
Sure, sounds good. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for all the work you do for the Polkadot ecosystem.